Hello everybody, welcome back to the AdvancedVape channel. Today we're taking a look at the GLAZ RDSA. That's the other version of the GLAZ product. In the last video I took a look at the RTA. This one is the GLAZ RDSA. CRAVE is a big fan of these kind of acronyms. They made up the RDTA acronym. And this one, I think, stands for Rebuildable Dripping Squonk Atomizer. So, I don't know. Not really a huge point to those acronyms. It's a dripper that also has a squonk pen with it. And fitting with the theme with the RTA, glass is kind of a big part of this. So it's a build deck and a glass chimney. Bottom airflow, so there's no slits in the glass. Here's what it looks like. It's almost 30 millimeters. It's a big dripper with the upper glass section. And it comes with two of them, as you can see there. It also comes with different colored airflow kind of sleeves. There's a silver one and a black one, which essentially turns it into a black version because the glass is on there. So I'll put the black one on. I won't put it on all the way, but you can see what I mean. It's basically black now. So, all that doesn't really matter. The build deck is what's interesting going on with this tank. As you can see, it's kind of similar to the Titan. Obviously, the bottom air is a little bit different than the setup on the Titan, but the actual build deck is pretty similar. It's postless. With the ability to do kind of as a postless deck, and it also has the series block that is the exact same as it was on the Aromizer Titan, and that's what I'm going to be building on today. So I'm going to go on and put on that series block on there, and then we'll go on and do a build with it. This is a big dripper, and the airflow is not huge, but it can fit some big coils on there, as you can see. I'm going to be putting some frame staples on there. So I'm going to go on and put that series block on there, talk about it just for a second, and put a build in there. As with the series deck on the Titan, this is essentially a way to connect both coils into one large coil to double the resistance. And it works by connecting that center bridge section that I'll show in a second to the deck by plastic posts so that it's electrically isolated from the rest of the deck. It's kind of a neutral post in there. So you put these plastic pins in there, and then this wall sits on top of there. And put together, it looks like this. It's not the most sturdy setup out there because it relies on those plastic. I guess they're probably Ultim the same material as the insulators there, but still not, obviously not metal. It needs to not be conductive, but they don't feel the sturdiest thing ever. But it does feel more sturdy than the Aromizer Titan series deck, which kind of had a little bit of a wobble to it. So it does feel a little bit more sturdy than that, but it's not the strongest setup out there, so you just need to be a little bit careful with it. So the way that this works is that you have one leg of the coil in here and the upper leg in here, and the same on the other side, so that it's basically making a bridge from one coil to the other. So I'm going to go on and install the coils on there so you can see that a little bit better. Okay. It's not the easiest deck to build on out there. You've got one leg coming in from the side, the post, and the other leg coming in kind of in the ideal way to pinch it along the width instead of twisting it vertically. So it makes for a little bit of an awkward setup, but it's not super hard to build on, and this does feel quite a bit sturdier when you're actually tightening the legs down than the Aromizer Titan, which could kind of move around as you were trying to get the legs nice and tight on there. So I'll go on and make sure that they're fully on there. And it feels nice and sturdy as I'm doing this. So as you can see, because this center thing is electrically isolated, you have the line going in a kind of a straight line from this leg through the coil, and then through this bridge over to the other coil, down through the coil and to this leg. So it makes one big circuit there instead of having each coil on the circuit for itself, kind of making it into one large coil. So this is reading 0.28, around 0.27, 0.28, which is double what a single coil would be. So in a dual coil setup, this would be about a 0.08. And we're going to go on and go through the dry fire. Okay. Not too hard to dry fire. If you could see there, I know it was probably in fast forward, but I tried to tighten this down and the center thing flexed just a little bit. So there's kind of a limit to how tight you can try and get these flexing against those insulator posts there. So I'm going to be using Kendo Gold on this. It's a dripper, and that's my favorite cotton for drippers. So I'll wait for it to cool down for just a second, and then we'll go through the wicking, and it shouldn't be hard at all. It's a dripper, so nothing really fancy going on there. Had a little bit of an overflow there. That cotton was kind of right up next to the edge, and I was squeezing on that bottle really hard. So, like the RTA, because this has a glass chimney, you can see your build really well, see how saturated the cotton is, show it off, whatever, all the advantages of having a big glass section there. This one, obviously, there's a lot more glass there, and it tends to cloud up a little bit more, but still not that big a deal. It doesn't stay cloudy in there. So I'm going to give this a try at about 90 watts. There's a lot of airflow there. Feels a little bit turbulent. This is with the air all the way open. This airflow is just a little bit loose, but airflow all the way open on that. And I'm probably going to bump it up maybe 105. The glass gets a little bit warm on your lips, but it's not hot. It doesn't really bother me that much, but it does get a little bit warm there, and with a big build in there. This is a big kind of around 30 millimeter RDA, so like those, there's a lot of air, a big build space, big chamber, so the vape doesn't feel really concentrated and dense. It has a more airy taste to it, but the flavor is still really good. As far as 30 millimeter RDAs that I've tried, this is probably the best in terms of flavor, and I really prefer it with this center post on there. If you just do the postless build, it tends to just be really airy and turbulent. The flavor's still alright, but it's not really that strong. I haven't tried it in the Squonk setup, and I'll explain why. To me, most Squonk setups out there are kind of those unregulated devices, and they're on the smaller side, either single coil or small dual coil. There's not a whole lot of regulated Squonks out there that'll put out a lot of power. This is a 30 millimeter RDA, so to me, putting the coils that I put in there, it needs a lot of power, and I don't own a Squonk setup that can really put out that much power. So I'm not sure how this would really perform with small coils in there, to use a single battery unregulated or something like that. So you would kind of need one of those really large regulated Squonks to make this work. So I've just been using it as a normal dripper and not the Squonk setup. But yeah, the flavor is good. I like it with the series setup on there. That would make it easier to put bigger coils onto an unregulated. But I still think that the ramp would be just a little bit slow with some big coils on there. That does make it easier to use, though, in an unregulated setup. That's how the series got its name, I think, to be put on series setups. But I don't own one of those, so I haven't tried the Squonk on this. The glass feels good. Obviously, it kind of just has its own drip tip as part of this upper chimney section, but I don't have any complaints about that. It feels good. On the whole, compared to other 30 millimeter RDAs that I've had, it's really good. I like the bottom air better than the side air, and I feel like this setup is very similar to the Aromizer Titan, but it does it better. That series post, like I mentioned, is more sturdy, and it just feels like it works a little bit better than the Aromizer Titan, which worked fine. On the whole, I prefer the RTA out of the two glass products, but if you're looking for a dripper, you don't do RTAs. It's a good choice. I like the glass setup. As I vape on it more and it kind of, the cotton settles in and stuff, the flavor has gone up quite a bit. It does taste more warm and dense than it did, and definitely more warm and dense than it does without the series setup. Bumping the wattage up helped with that too. So I think if you're looking for a big RDA, and if you have a Squonk setup that could work with this, I feel like it would work really well. Even if not, like for me, it's a good 30 millimeter RDA. On the whole, I like it. I think this glass line kind of stepped Steam Crave forward. I really like the RTA, and this is a good dripper. I like the direction that they're headed in with these two products. I feel like they're better than the stuff that they've been coming out with before this. So I think that'll bring us to the end of this video about the GLAZ RDSA from Steam Crave. If you like this video on our channel, give us a like and subscribe. And as always, if you have any comments, leave them below or send me an email. Thanks.